Hey guys, it's Ms. Dominguez here. So I want to show you one of my favorite apps and how to use it. So to do that, you will need to download Snapseed on any of your smartphone phone or tablet. Okay, so make sure you're doing that before you begin. Okay, so let's begin. Now we're going to go ahead and click open at the top left. You're going to decide what photo you want. So I have decided on this one, and I'll start with tune image. That setting will start with brightness, which if I take it to the right, you'll see a lot of light. Right, photography has to do with light. Photo, that means light. So I didn't want it to go too dark. Obviously, I wanted to actually bring it up the brightness, give it more light. Then contrast is, if you notice, the more contrast you put, the more detail that photo has because it's breaking apart the colorings. Okay, if I go too much, that's too much contrast. So contrast is basically being able to notice the difference between the white and the black balances of the photo. Okay, I like to give a little bit of contrast. I love contrast, just not too much where it looks too HD. I don't like that. So it's all up to you. You could decide. Saturation here is basically the colors, right? More saturation, the colors will pop up more. Less saturation, you'll see like black and white. I do like saturation, just a tad bit if I'm doing color. Sometimes I do black and white, so I take out saturation. But in this case, I want to keep the saturation, not too much, just good enough to give it that little edge. So we're looking at ambience. So the more ambience you have, it also has to do with light. Okay, the less ambience, the more those shadows and highlights go down. Okay, so if you look at ambience, I'm going to playing around with this so you kind of see how that works. I'm going to give it a little bit more light, not too much, but I'm going to give it that touch. So if you look, I'm clicking to make sure that I like the image so far and what I've done to it. So highlight will look at those parts that are brighter in the picture, original picture. If they're brighter, or those parts, if you add highlight, it will make it even more bright, so it will make it white, more white. Here's the shadows. So if you look at the shadows, what's going on with the shadows is that if you give it more light to the dark parts of these photos, then you'll see those shadows become brighter. In this case, I like to give a little bit of that darkness. I enjoy the shadow darkness. Warmth is basically, if you go to the left, you see it's more the blue. If you go to the right, blue meaning cool, and warm, the warmth of it. So I'm giving it more warmth. That's going to be a little bit more yellow, right, in color. So I give it a little bit of yellow because of the grass. I like that. Either way, used to have some of that blue at the end, at the top. So I kind of left it like that. I like it like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the structure. So structure gives it a little bit of that detail, it gives it even more detail. You see less detail to the left and more detail to the right. I do enjoy detail, just not a lot of it, like I said before, because I don't want it to look too detailed. Sharpening is to make that image quality better. It's just you cannot take away sharpening. You can just add if you want. Either you have none or you add. Okay, in this case, I'm showing you how adding the most will give you very detailed. But what happens is it all depends on what you're trying to do with the photo. So if you want to give it a little bit of sharpening, it's fine to make it look better quality. So those pixels are more detailed. Okay, pixel meaning the squares that make up the picture. So you see me going back and forth, checking how I like the picture so far. So far I like it. Now I'm going to use a selection tool. Okay, so this selection tool is my favorite. Okay, so I'm going to press the plus sign at the bottom, and I'm going to pick a part that I want to get the color. So right now I'm looking at that white. What I'm looking for is that brightness. So you see, like if I put it down, it's too dark, and if I put it up, it's brighter. So it makes it a little bit more white, giving that detail to the highway. Obviously, the contrast is also giving that difference. You see the difference between the colors. Um, I'm not gonna give it a lot of contrast, just because if I give it too much contrast, then it will look too flat, and I'm not trying to look for a flat image. Saturation, I'm also not going to, but I'm showing you how it works. I'm not going to give it a lot of saturation. If anything, I'm taking away so I can make it that even more of that white color. I enjoy like seeing those colors pop up, and seeing the difference of colors. And then structure obviously is the detail that I want on that. And I'm going back and forth so you kind of can see what happens when you put more. And the whole point of using this app is to play around and find your style. Everybody has a different style. Everybody likes different ways of editing. I enjoy editing colored photos. So if you see now, I'm using that same select tool, but I'm putting it on that yellow, and I'm playing around with those colors. Either I'm giving it brightness, either I'm giving it a little bit of saturation or not. Um, you have to know, like on that photo, I know where the sun is hitting. I can see that the basket of the hot air balloon is getting the most light, so I can't take away too much brightness either. So I kind of leave it like that so it's still bright. Now I'm going to select again, use the select tool, which again is my favorite. You guys are going to enjoy it so much. You guys can see how I'm choosing that green. So I'm going to pop up that green color. So notice that everything that's in red is what's the same color as the color you chose. So all those parts are going to be affected. The more red, the brighter the red, the more that color is there. So you see it's going up, I'm putting it up. You see the greens are going up. That color pop is definitely coming up. Okay, and I kind of leave it around there. So I'm looking at the difference. It does make a difference. It makes the colors pop. Editing is awesome. I love it. It makes the photo look so much more different than when I started. So this is the HDR. HDR is basically the high definition, but I do not like using this. I'm just showing you how to use it, but I'm not going to be using this filter. Um, I don't enjoy it. I like to actually edit it my way and have control. Again, you can use it if you want to, and they give you two options there. Okay, so that's pretty much what I like to do to my images overall, but I do want to show you one last one, which is the grainy film. Grainy film is cool because it adds that touch of like vintage film um, photography, and these are some of the filters you have. So I'm going over it so you guys can see the different styles, the style strength, meaning how much of that filter do you want. But it's awesome. I mean, I like to use the green, or like this, the the vintage look as well, to make it look like a little bit like old school, if you want to call it. Super, super cool. There's a lot of things to do with this app. I absolutely love it. It's free. You can use it in your tablet. It's just amazing. I use this with my photography students. I've used it before, and they love it. They're still kind of getting the hang of it because there's a lot of different options. This app has grown a lot, and I really enjoy it. I wanted to share this with you. So this right here is the Vinny. Vinny is the level of darkness or brightness around or inside a photo. So if you notice, it says inner and outer brightness. You decide, if you want to make it brighter, if you want to make it darker, and the outside and inside, it's all up to you. I'm not a vignette person. It all depends, but I really don't use it. I don't often use that setting. So these are the high tones of contrast, meaning the real like difference in colors. There's mild tones, so there's layers to photography. Photography is not just an image. There's so many layers. Once you're done, you're going to click export. You're going to click save as copy so you can go ahead and save without overwriting. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to do color ascent. Color ascent is basically choosing one part of the image that you want to pop up, just the color, and the rest of the image to be black and white. Okay, this is one of the easiest pictures I can choose to do this to. There's some picture that can be a little bit harder, so we're going to click the brush tool. We're going to pick the part that says saturation. Once you have chosen that, you're going to click the arrow down and you're going to go all the way to -10. Okay, -10 is going to go ahead and take out all that color. So I'm carefully going around the areas that I want to take out color from. I'm doing it with my finger. You can use a stylus or one of those pens that are like stylus to go ahead and do it more carefully. I'm going all around, being careful when I get to the basket area because there's color there. So I want to make sure that I'm doing it carefully. I'm taking my time. Sometimes you might have to go back. There's actually an undo button if you wanted to click X on that, and then go back. You can do that. But for now, I'm just going around because I'm not having much of a hard time since the colors are pretty divided. I go really careful in that area so I can maintain that yellow that I want. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that's all done, that it looks good. I like it so far. Takes time, so just make sure you're playing around with the settings. Then I'm going to go to export, or sorry, tools. I'm going to tune up a little bit my contrast to give it that edge. I'm gonna go ahead and use my saturation now. So I'm gonna give that basket a pop of that yellow-orange color. Then I'm gonna use my highlight for the highlight part. I'm seeing what I like the most, if I want to give it more light, if I want to give it less light. And I just want to give it a little touch of brightness, not too much. Now for the warmth, if I go negative on the warmth, they'll become cool, which makes it blue. If I go to the right, which gives it more warmth, it turns like a yellow. So I kind of still want to keep the same black and white. So I'm going to just give it a tad bit of warmth, not too much. And that's how it looks like. So now I'm going to go back. I'm looking to see if I like my image. That's my color ascent for the basket. Now I want to try the opposite. So I'm going to undo. Okay, I'm going to revert, go back. It's the same. And now I want to do the opposite. Now I want to make the basket black and white. We're going to go back to our tool. Click brush. Click saturation. Go all the way down to negative. Use the arrow, -10. We're going to use this brush tool to take out the color from the basket, that yellow part, and keep the rest. This is just not my style of doing this in the sense of like I wouldn't take off that color. But just so you guys can see that you guys can do either one of those colors. Okay, so that's what this tool is for. Hope you have enjoyed the color ascent tutorial. So hope you have enjoyed the Snapseed tutorial. Again, I want to see different styles. So if you want to be featured on my photography tab or maybe on Instagram or our school website, make sure you have emailed me a before and after picture at Dominguez at Academir Charter School West.com. Again, it was so much fun doing this tutorial for you. Can't wait to see all the creative styles. Have a beautiful and amazing Monday, guys. Stay safe.